Hi everyone, and welcome to my new channel and to this new series that I'm starting on information and how information can be the foundation of reality. This is one of the main things I've been studying in my life, and it's also a hot topic now in the fields of physics and philosophy. A few days ago I was watching a video. Actually, I see videos about this all the time, but there's one in particular that I thought was kind of neat. It was a discussion. It was on the PBS video series by Matt O'Dowd, where he talks about, it's called PBS Spacetime, I think. And he was having an extended session with some famous physicists, Max T. Mart, Stephen Alexander, Brian Keating, James Beecham, talking about physics. And a couple of them mentioned that if we're really going to get the next level of physics understanding, we need to start thinking about information and how the world is made of information. And that's really the view that I want to express in this series. It's a view called information realism, if you want to give it a name. And it's taken a long time for humanity to get to the place where we can even think about information. And it took till the 20th century when we developed computers and started being able to think of information as a real thing. And the idea is that, when we're born, we start seeing the world, we start seeing objects moving, we see matter moving, and we learn about energy. And of course we see the world that way, as matter moving. But the underlying reality is different than that. And another way of seeing reality, which we're going to explore through this series, is that instead of the world being composed of matter moving, the world is composed of information flowing. And that's a new perspective. It'll take some while to get used to it. A lot of the YouTube videos that I've seen on this present it as mysterious. They don't really let you understand what that means. And I think that's a shame, because it's a really powerful way of looking at the universe. And as long as it's mysterious and we hear about it, but we can't really think in those terms, there's so much that we don't understand about the world that actually a fresh perspective, a new way of looking at things can really help. So I'm hoping that with this series I can go a little further than just saying, ooh, information and the world's made out of it. And to go through in detail how it is that the world could be composed of information, and that the information flowing could appear to us beings, who are also made out of information flowing, as matter moving. But the underlying reality is information flowing. This actually isn't that hard to think about if you consider video games or the Matrix. I mean, what if you have what if we made a video game? Sorry, my throat's getting a little. What if we made a video game and non-player characters in the video game were conscious? Well, they would see themselves and their world as matter moving, as objects. They would see other people in the game and their weapons and their clothes and everything as matter. But we know, because we are the one running the game, that they're actually just information inside our computer flowing around. But it seems to them that it's matter. Now, I'm not saying that we're just a simulation. I'm saying that reality is composed of information, which is why a simulation would work. Now, when we're able to do this mental shift from thinking of the world in terms of information flowing instead of matter moving. In terms of so it's really easy to think about matter is moving, and we can use that to store information. You know, we move a piece of matter from here to here, and that means, you know, the British are coming by land versus by sea. So the real transition here is being able to move from thinking matter moves and that stores information, sure, instead of it's information flowing. And that appears to us, who are also made of information, as matter moving. That's the real transition that we want to learn to make. It's to stop thinking of the world as matter moving and we can store information on it. And instead, think of the world as information. Like we're that simulation. We're those non-player characters, and it looks real. It looks like there's matter. But there's not. And I've been working my whole life to figure out how to think in these terms. And I've developed a computer language around it. And we're going to go over, in this series, we're going to go over that in detail. And by the end, or even by the middle, really, you'll be able to conceptualize the world in terms of information. And there's so many advantages to that, so many things that make sense. Consciousness, for example. If you really think of the universe as just matter and motion, energy, it's hard to see how consciousness could happen. How could matter moving be a thought? Like, you know, the leaves are green. How does that even make sense? Matter moving is a thought like the leaves are green. But if reality is composed of information, well, we know how information could store that the leaves are green. You know, the light reaching our eyes is storing the information that the leaves are green if it recently bounced off of, you know, some leaves. We could say the light is storing the information. By the end, I think we'll say the light is the information or contains the information that the leaves are green. So let's get into it real quick. I think we've got about a few minutes left in this video. This is a short introduction video. But the first thing I want to do is talk about the term infon. So infon is a term I use all the time because it's just easier than saying a piece of information. But all it means is a piece of information. So infon, a piece of information. I didn't make that up. There's a mathematician named Keith Devlin who I think he made that up. So an infon's a piece of information. Now I want to tie this in really quick with physics and why physics is starting to talk about, physicists are starting to talk about information. The reason is, in physics, everything is a state. So what's the state of, you know, an electron or a photon, or what is the state of a chunk of space at a certain instant? So that's all there is in physics, is something that has state. And there's this equation that is really cool. And if you keep thinking about this equation, I think you'll start to get the picture. And if I'm right, I can put it on the screen here. But the equation is, it's from computer science, 256 states equals 1 byte of information. So a byte of information is 256 states. So what that means is that states and information are the same thing. They're just a different unit. If we measure in terms of information, it's sort of like the amount of information is related logarithmically to the number of states. But we can measure it in terms of how many states, like 256 states, or how much information, 1 byte of information, or 1 bit of information, which is a bit of information, is like, on or off. It's 2 states. So that's it. A bit of information is 2 states. 8 bits of information is a byte, which is 256 states. Okay, so that's all for today. But I'm going to do these videos regularly, and we're going to go through in quite a bit of detail and get some historical perspective. And the reason I want to go into that much detail is because I don't just want you to think, ooh, cool, that's mysterious. I want you to really be able to think, cool, that's how the world works. I see it now. I can process my image of the world in those terms. So some of the topics that we're going to go over that are mysterious, if you think of the world as matter moving, are things like mental states of brains, free will, the meaning of life, judgments about ethics. What's good or bad, right and wrong, however you want to phrase it. My master's thesis was about it was an outline of how you could make an algorithm that calculates ethics, and we'll talk about that. And if you think about it, if there's a way to calculate ethics, if there's a way for a computer to calculate ethics, it makes the coming AI revolution less scary, because it means we're going to be able to program our AIs to go, wait a minute, that's not right. And I'm not talking about just like simple ethics either. I'm talking about having it truly understand why human life or conscious life is valuable by itself. And if it really understands it, then someone like a rogue government or whatever isn't going to be able to say, no, the government, the king, is what's actually valuable, and everyone else is just to serve the king. Because the AI is not going to buy it. It's going to know, because it's going to know why human life is valuable. You won't be able to convince it otherwise, because it's just going to do the logic and go, wait a minute, that's not right. So that's what's coming up. I think it's going to be really exciting. I'm excited about it. And I will see everyone next time. Thanks so much.